Hey, so we miss our philosophical Wednesday because I still think, but today we will talk about the agents, as usual, So, and last time we talked about the agent identity and what it means for the agentic world, what it means for the world of the verifiable data, that your identity it's not just the passport or something like that. I just making the tea, but it's more your capabilities, skills, and sometimes your identity could be defined by the operation that you do in this moment. But the next step, how agents talk to each other, and we will keep separately also the topic how agents talks to the human and how human actually talks to the agent because it's most interesting part also. So how to talk. And quite often people say that we don't need API, we don't need protocols, everything is super cool right now because finally agents just understand the human language. And actually, it's a big promise from 1958 that you just talk to the computer with the plain English and it's understanding you. And the most close implementation of this dream actually was the small talk, but still it's a programming language. But how actually the agents talk to each other? For sure, we will skip the most important part that they need some kind of transportation layer and they need to find each other. That will be the topic of our next videos, how to discover, and it's called the identity and capabilities and all of the things. But let's imagine that we have our travel agents that uh, could help us to organize amazing trip to Rome. I like Italy. And then it's going to your personal assistant agents that knows everything about you and try to get, for example, your preferences, what you like, where you want to go, offer this agent something, and yeah, how they could negotiate. And most overlooked part of this communication actually it's how they understand the messages of each other because you listen me in English and but they speak also Ukrainian, and for example if I will switch to Ukrainian or if I will switch to Polish, it means that probably if you're not multilingual, like some LLMs are multi-language LLMs, you will understand nothing. So it means that they need to speak the same language. But what the same language mean? What actually language are? It's a topic of the linguistics, and some applied linguists they try to teach machines also understand all the things. And you know we how we solved this problem previously before the machine learning, that you have some kind of service or agent, or the actor. The agents are not new, they exist for a couple of decades from 1970s, but they do not have the capabilities of the modern LLM that able to talk to you. They just pre-programmed heavily. So then it's the question of linguistic, and in linguistics we have the couple of interesting layers that are important to understand. So the first layer, it's super high, and it's a topic of the semiotic. So what the semiotic actually means? The semiotic it's the science that study the meaning of the symbols. So not only the letters that combine the words, but maybe some signs. And if you see, I don't know, the cross, you know what it's mean, right? So some what how we interpret the different abstract symbols and how the symbols create the meaning. The next, it's still interesting, it's still important, and they study a lot of stuff, and it's not the image recognition, it's more about the meaning of the symbols, and but it's too high and it's too broad. And the next layer that understand that try to make the meaning and understanding of the language, and it's a core of natural language processing and natural language understanding, is semantics. So semantics actually study the meaning of the words, they study the meaning of the language, the written language, and so on. And yet another important layer that linguists do, it's pragmatics. And pragmatics is super important for the conversational agents, because pragmatics actually, it's the meaning of the language in a context, in a concrete context, and because the context could change the meaning. And what's the disambiguation mean? So that if I will say you the apple, it's not clear from the single word, is it the fruit, or is it a technical company, or is it something else? Or if I say you the cell, and then it's not clear, is it the biological cell, it's a something else, or is it the cell phone? And it's a tiny example of the worlds, but sometimes we even have the complex sentences and complex grammar constructions that actually change the meaning completely, depending on the context. That's why this semantic and pragmatics works together on the conversational agents, and help the agents to have the common understanding. So when we say that agents understand each other, they need to speak the same language, and the more natural and unstructured language they use, the more they need the common semantics. So the common meaning of the world and understanding the context of the conversation, to fight with the disambiguations. And it's quite human-like, so we also could mix up the things when we just don't know the context of the conversation, or we jump to the room where two people is talking and we need some times to get the context. So as I said, that in an old pre-programmed world, we usually use some structured data. Yeah, so you have the object with the concrete field, the value of every object is somehow pre-programmed, and then we know what this message means because it have the strict structure, and somehow we have the embedded meaning because it's pre-programmed. And the more we move to the natural language, the more we need the natural language processing tasks, and these natural language processing tasks actually require the common semantics. And semantics mean actually the real meaning. And you know that semantics depend on the language. So in English, for example, we don't have some words that we have in German, because the Germans, they really creative, and they create some specific words that describe some stuff or life situations or the things that in English you need to make the sentence. And also the Germans really like to combine couple of words and save couple of white spaces. Yeah, but it's a cultural differences. So you could still translate to the semantics of each other depending on the languages. And for example, some agents, they really do this. They just translate the things between two agents. Sometimes you need a mediator that will explain you. And even in the same language, we could have this challenge because, for example, I speak German, but I'm Ukrainian, and German is not a native language to me. But even for the Germans that I actually use the German every day, if they, for example, go to the domains of the law, they really need the lawyer because the lawyers make the life super complex. They have their own specific worlds for specific things, so they have the domain specific semantics. And sometimes we need to find the agents that will help us to write the legal letter for us because we have no clue how it works. And actually, my tax advisor, it's yet another, domain specific semantic because it's not just the meaning, but some rituals and procedures and the rules and all other things that actually make the tax advisors rich because it's not enough for the regular human brain to understand all this complexity. So the semantics is about the meaning, and the linguists help us to uh, formalize semantics still in not so rigid mathematical way, but actually give us the framework to manipulate with the meaning. And the semantical layer actually is making sure that we could understand the messages in a same way. But what does it mean for the LLM? First of all, the LLM is trained on the huge amount of data. And we could say that some semantical meaning of the words it's already embedded somehow in a large language models. Even more, the large language model, you could even ask that you are the professional linguist and we working in this and that domain and please explain me the meaning of this or meaning of that. So we have the already explicit semantical layers somewhere in LLM embedded, so we could really do a lot of natural language processing tasks just on top of the LLM. But when you have two LLMs that are the same, so the same version, the same size from the same manufacturer, it's a bigger probability that they will have the better alignment and at least they have the same training data, but even this condition not guarantee us that they will not hallucinate and they will not give us the different interpretation of the same phrase multiple times because it's a nature of the LLM and stochastic processes and the probabilities, and you could even make this experiment yourself. You could go and repeat the same prompt multiple times and we'll get the different results. And it's not the bug, it's a feature, it's a core of the creativity and generative capabilities of the agents that we all love, and that's why we use them. But unfortunately, because of these hallucinations, they need a little help from us. And this help from us, lie in as this semantical and logical layers that we bring some rules, we bring some semantic meaning, and this semantic meaning usually built by ontologists and the linguists. And the linguists have a lot of little tricks and methods that help us to really make sure that the meaning of the message is clear. And about the ontologies and the knowledge graphs, we will talk in our next videos. But right now, for you, it's super important to understand the problem that if we talk natural language, then we need to have the semantic layer that really turn it to more structured and predicted data that have the common meaning for both of the sides. And it's super important, and it's what's more important that in autonomous agents as same as independent humans we have common semantics. We study at school, we understand what Apple mean, right? We create complex machines that even could understand the context of the conversation. So if we achieve the human level, it's more than enough. It's amazing, it's a dream, but we have the little bit here that every human, and especially the people from different locations, countries, social groups, and all other things, they not just have some common level of the understanding that language usually bring, they have their own experience and they see the world differently through their experience and through their learnings, and it's super visible on kids of early age where they just have not enough experience and learning to understand the language. So it's most fascinating things to see how kids are learning to speak and how they talk and all of the things, and you could understand better how they learn to talk. But the important understanding that this interpretation of the language usually involve our own life experience, and for autonomous agents it means that they could have, even with the common semantical core, they could have the different learnings and different worldview and different understanding and interpretation based on what they learn. And it's not only on the training data of the LLM, but ability to reflect on the messages, and it's really connected to the types of the agents, and actually if they even have the ability to learn and improve. So you see that it's not enough just to talk the English and use the LLM as a semantical linguist, but you have a lot of challenges to make sure that we understand the same message in the same way. That's why this kind of task should be solved with some linguistic specific, semantic specific layers. That's why semantic layer is so important uh, in a process of language agent to agent communication. So that's it. It's take a bit longer, but it's quite a complex topic. I keen to see you next time, and then we will talk about the consensus stuff.